my daughter decided she wanted to do gymnastics. The better she got, the worse the coaching got. And I could see how those kids were being treated. It was going to be a repeat of what I'd already lived. And it was devastating. She didn't have anything else to go to, and she loved it, but also suffering in between.
Before we get into this week's episode, I'd like to quickly talk about the new studio that we're filming in. It's called Offset Studios. Myself and business partner Chris opened this up. It's a 3,000 square foot, 4-set building. Each set has a different vibe to it. Our goal was to create a space for individuals and businesses to tell their stories through the lens of a camera. Each set has a different vibe. We have a 70s set, a speakeasy, a very bright white room, and a kind of old school hair and makeup. Our idea is to kind of fill this with creative individuals that are looking to share their story online. I think that's enough blabbing. Let's get into the show. Welcome to the Calgary Sessions. This is episode number 203. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. Before I get into it today, if you like this one, please share it or subscribe to this podcast. Do something with the show. I'd appreciate it. Today's guest, Mr. Eric Francis, did this intro. I had the pleasure of having him on the show last year probably, and he's always cool. I get these random DMs. He's like, hey, do you know this person? And I'm always like, no. And then he does the intro, and that's how this happens. So please name and who you are.
I'm Kim Shore, and I am a safe sport advocate, I think you could call me. I'm a person who feels really strongly about having sport as a part of my life and my family's life, and I also see how important it is that it's delivered in a really intentionally safe and joyful way.
And like you already know, I do like zero research on anybody. And so when Eric sends over the invite, I just quickly Google your name and just like, is she an artist, athlete, entrepreneur? I just like make sure they fit into this, like into one of these buckets, or maybe some people do all three buckets, but that's all I know. So this will be very interesting. Obviously, we figured out that I know your husband from like years ago. So like that's why I love this city. Mm-hmm. Just these like, I love it. And some people hate all these like random connections because it gets too close to home. I like love it because it's just, it's different, right? Like now that you know that I know Ryan, I don't know, it changes things slightly, right? For me, it changes because I'm like, oh, I have this like loose connection, you know? You're not like a total random stranger, which I think that's what makes this fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, when you're talking about meaningful things, trust is a really big part of that conversation and the underpinning of it. And so, yeah, I love that you know my husband and that you know several people that I know and respect and trust. And I think, it's going to lend itself to a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, totally. You've done your research, so take this thing back. Where you grew up, how you grew up, parents, siblings, school, work, athletics, take this wherever you want to go, and we'll just kind of weave our way to where you are today and, you know, chat about everything in between.
So you've just asked a decades-long question.
So what's hilarious about that question is sometimes it's 48 minutes. And sometimes it's like 2 hours and 25 minutes. And the thing is, because we have like all the room on these cameras, it doesn't matter it's so interesting to see what people do with it. Right. Because it's, you know, if somebody flipped it on me, I don't know where I would go. Mm-hmm. And my memories as a youngster aren't that clear. So, you know, mine might be 52 minutes. So it's like a wide open thing, which can be daunting. But it's definitely, it makes for some interesting chats. So take it back wherever you want to go.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was born in Ottawa, and we drove out in the family car so that my dad could attend the U of A and finish his PhD in psychology. And so we lived in university housing, and I was just in Edmonton this past weekend, and we drove by what used to be Michener Park, and it's been completely razed. Is that the right word? Like just completely cleared out, and they're building all these fancy apartments, and it's so interesting. It was because that was such a formative time when we arrived. I would have been 7. Okay. And it was the site of, you know, all these international students coming with young families and living in, I mean, I think now I could probably touch wall to wall. That's how narrow the home was. And we had all these friends and kids in the playground right in our backyard. And so it was a really good place. Felt really safe. It was also the site of my parents' divorce, so that wasn't great. But yeah, so interesting to see such a big piece of my history gone.
Gone.
But yeah, I grew up in Edmonton mostly until grade 8 and did gymnastics. That was my my only sport, really.
Early? Like you started early?
Yes. I would have started in Ottawa when I was less than 5. My mom was tutoring kids, and I guess one of the moms was watching out the window as I did these kamikaze type dismounts off of my swing set. And she said, you should probably get that kid into gymnastics, A, so she doesn't hurt herself, but B, because it looks like she would really enjoy it. So that's how it started. And then we found a gym club here in Edmonton, and my mom signed me up, and I loved it. Loved everything about it, and that would have been like grade 2. And then by the end of grade 3, with my parents splitting up, we didn't have enough money to send me, so I had to take a year out. And somehow my mom found the resources to send me again. And I remember it so clearly, like my first few couple months back, and I remember we were walking up this hill towards where the Klondike Days parade was happening, and we were doing a demonstration, and my coach said to me, so what was it like not being in gym for the last year? And I said, I feel like a fish out of water. And I can remember telling her that because that is so exactly how it felt. Like I was just missing a part of myself. And so I loved it. I absolutely loved the sport of gymnastics.
What do you think, like, what was it? I guess, as you're flying off the swing set, before you knew it can be a thing, what do you think, what is it?
Yeah, for me, gymnastics has always been equal parts art and sport. And so there's a real soulful aspect to gymnastics for me. It's how it feels in your body. It's how it feels to produce something that is both beautiful and powerful at the same time, because it has that dance element, but also has the structure of, it's very technical.
Yeah.
And the physical sensation, like it's cool doing double flips
Just
and
hanging in the air.
Triple twists. And it's cool. And then to land on your feet and feel no pain, for starters, is there's nothing like it. Like when I think back to some of my moments in gymnastics, I can still remember a specific vault I did in grade 12 nationals where I stuck it, and I was like, and I'd fallen on my butt the first time and I had a second chance and I nailed it, and I was like, oh, thank God. And it felt tremendous. So it's still like it's in my soul, really.
Do you think that's rare as a youngster to know that, to feel it at that age? Like when I think about myself, like hockey, I don't know, like my first year I quit. I cried the entire time, couldn't skate, held myself like around the boards, like I walked myself around.
Yeah.
And my dad grew up in Vancouver, didn't know how to skate, so he's like, we're now living in Calgary. He's like, well, he's got to figure this out. But I hated it. Fast forward, played forever.
Yeah.
But like, what is it? What do you think like clicked for you? So like, is that natural, I guess? Do a lot of people feel that, or do you think that's a unique sensation at a young age?
I think gymnastics has a special magnetism to kids. I really do. It's a little easier entry point than putting on uncomfortable skates that feel super wobbly and holding a stick, like all that. And it's the cumbersome equipment that you have to wear as a little kid. I think that's really uncomfortable.
For sure.
Where gymnastics is very freeing and liberating. You throw your hair in a ponytail, you put on your leotard, and you're ready to go. And sort of you're in charge largely at the beginning as to how far you go. Yeah. And I think good and bad, the coaches are very adept at picking out the kids that seem to have the aptitude or the physical talent or whatever attributes they're looking for, but they're good at picking that out. And so I think they move kids through the system in that way. They pick the kids that are going to be the winners, which does not help at all with adding diversity to the sport or ensuring there's equal opportunity. So there's all those challenges that we still are dealing with. But I think for me, it was natural. It was natural for my daughter. It was natural for the little girls that were in my daughter's group because I could see the sparkle in their eyes, all of them. So maybe it's a type of kid that gets pulled out and placed into like the high performance track, and they have that similar spark. I hope they have that, because that's a lot of piece of the joy. And as we'll probably get into, like having your own joyful center when it comes to doing gymnastics is essential, because pretty much the sport is just full of toxicity.
Yeah, you're judged at every single and all the other madness. When your mom couldn't afford to put you through it, a lot of people don't have that. It seems like parents can just, kids want to do something, just they're allowed to do it. For me, when I was like 13, maybe playing like Pee Wee or Adam, maybe this team that I was on, like Trails West, so not just like a regular team. We had a tournament in Sparwood, and my dad couldn't afford to send me. He worked 5 jobs, and I don't know what this thing would have cost back in the 80s, probably like $700.
Yeah,
but I couldn't go. It was such a weird, and I can tell the story now, and it's very vivid to me. And I don't know if it's like stuck with me for this whole time, but it's like, it's just the reality of sport. When your mom couldn't like put you through it, like you said, when you got back in it, you were like, oh, this is. But at the time, though, to not be allowed to do it because of finances, did you like fully understand what that meant, or were you just like?
Not really.
Yeah. And now you're a mom and all the things.
Yeah. Can
you imagine what your mom was like? Had to like that decision?
Yeah. No, I think my mom was very much in survival mode and figure out what to do now.
Yeah.
And I just remember being really sad about it and still practicing my cartwheels, outside on the
home
lawn.
Training.
Yeah, home training. Home training, oh my gosh. I had this beam that was covered in carpet, like shag carpeting. Yeah, and the base with these 2 metal poles with a foundation this long. So the thing was super wobbly, and and so I practiced on that in lieu of being able to be in the actual gym. But yeah, I think I was young enough that it didn't totally I didn't have to process it too much. The time flew by pretty quickly, and there was other things to deal with at the time. So I was just glad to be back when I did get there.
So what else is going on? Is it elite gymnastics from a young age? Is it all consuming? Are you good at school? Or is it just like gymnastics all day, every day?
Well, gymnastics certainly holds the majority of my memory, but I was decent at school, not super academic, but decent. I could hold my 70s and whatever. Yeah. And I enjoyed school, and I, for the most part, I had a pretty good experience at school. But yeah, it was always gymnastics I looked forward to, and I was willing to do a lot to get there. That was back in the day. I can remember I took the bus to gymnastics from school. I had to go from elementary school by myself on the bus to Southgate Shopping Centre, transition to the number 9 bus, and then which was a, like, what do you call it, like a puddle jumper, like it stopped at every stop, all the way downtown to Edmonton downtown, get off and go to the club, and I'd get there really early and have to sit around and wait, and so all the things. But I would do it again, and I think there's something to be said for how independent I was at an early age. But the only other sport in an organized way that I played was t-ball for one summer. Other than that, I'm a mono athlete. I'm useless at all racket sports. And then actually, we'll get into it later. I did transition from gymnastics to another sport, but again, it was very similar to gymnastics. So. But my husband and friends actually can't believe that I was such a high level athlete, because I'm really not good at any other sports. And that's been a source of disappointment, I think, for my husband, who's good at every sport.
Just picking things up. Yeah. That independence piece is very interesting. Like, to do that, like I said earlier, you're a mom. Can you imagine like having your child at your age, like do that thing in Calgary? Just to like bus to bus to bus. Like, it's such an interesting way to grow up. It is.
And it's, people always say, oh, it was a different time then. Well, no, it's not. Like, I was still exposed to the same dangers that I would worry my kids would be exposed to on the bus.
Yeah.
And those things did happen. But you get through it. And I think what I learned all the way along throughout my journey was resilience. And that has been a gift. But it could have gone a different direction for me.
Yeah. Junior high school, do you have good memories do you have? And then kind of coming through high school, did you know what you want to do with yourself? Like,
No.
was it, it's like some people are super locked in. I had no fucking clue about anything.
No.
But like junior high school. So what's kind of with the gymnastics? Do you have goals? Like, are you putting goals in place? Are you working towards them? Are you just like trying to get through high school to get to somewhere? Or like, what's going on?
Yeah. So I did school in Edmonton until grade 8, and in grade 7, I made it to nationals. I think I was one of 2 gymnasts from Edmonton who made the team to nationals for all age groups. And so all the training camps were in Calgary. All the girls on my team were from Calgary, and all the older girls were from Calgary. And I thought, if I want to do something in this sport, I obviously need to be in Calgary. And I met this other older gymnast who I just thought hung the moon. Her name is Leanne Carruthers. And she was just wonderful to me. And she actually was from Edmonton, but was billeting in Calgary and training in a Calgary club. And I was like, oh, wait a second. So I talked to my mom about it, and she said, there is no way we can afford that. And I actually don't know how. I'm going to have to ask her, but I don't know how she got it together. But a year later, at the end of grade 8, she said, I think we can do it. And so we found a billet family for me, and they took me in for the year, and I moved to Calgary.
Wow.
I went to Springbank Junior High.
No way.
Which was a great school at the time, and a lovely group of kids. I didn't go through any of the grade 9 angst. I mean, they accepted me in. They were, just a really... There wasn't cliques. There wasn't things like that. It was just a really friendly, open space. And I was really lucky. So, in fact, my very best friend today is from grade 9. She was one of the first people I met at school.
Amazing.
Jocelyn Flanagan. Yeah, really lucky to have her in my life still. So we...
Were you comfortable coming down? Like, obviously, once you figured out what billeting is and where all these athletes are hanging out, you were okay with the sacrifice to move down here? Or like,
oh, it felt like a privilege. It did not feel like a sacrifice at that point.
'Cause you're young, like.
You're really young, 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget, we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
There was no texting or email. So I would talk to my mom once a week at 25 cents a minute. It was a long distance charge.
Landline with the big like extension thing.
That's the one. And the awful thing was, though, my mom's very chatty, and I was and am still, like, I'm actually introverted. I call myself a self-taught extrovert because I noticed if you want to be successful in this life, in society as it is, you need to be more extroverted. Yep. So I sort of forced myself to be less introverted. But my mom would call me on a Sunday and say, tell me all about the things and what were you, how was it? And I'd be like, good.
It was fine.
Fine. Yeah, like I'd have nothing to say. So she started to ask me to keep a list.
Amazing.
Yeah, which I did.
Just like,
Yeah.
So on Monday.
Yeah, I did. Monday and then this and then Tuesday this. And the back behind that, though, was I was also trying to protect my mom because I knew she was making a big sacrifice to have me live here. And I didn't want her to know how lonely I was or how sad I was. And also, like, the things in the gym, like I had a really difficult coach right from the get-go. She did not like me. I was not her type of athlete. She was, frankly, pretty cruel to lots of the kids, but I think I was particularly a target. And so I didn't want her to know that. And I loved it still. I still wanted to be there. I still wanted to go. And I didn't want anything to disrupt that. I didn't want her to bring me home. So school was great. Yeah. I was good enough. Really struggled in math. But other than that, I was good enough to get by. And high school, I did grade 10 at Springbank. And then I moved and I lived with a different billet family. Tremendous people. I still talk to them to this day, still love them. And they had one daughter who was 8 years younger than me, so I had this little sister, and they treated me like I was their kid. Like, they literally loved me, and they loved me through a lot of hard times.
Lucky.
Yeah.
It's like, just to experience these things at a young age.
Yeah.
Even say these two different billet families, it's like a lot to, like, I don't think I would have had the mental capacity to do it.
Well, it was 4. I had 4 families in 4 years.
Crazy.
Yeah. And it was just circumstantial. Like this lovely family that I lived with in grade 10, they were from Texas, and he was an oilman. And then they were going to move back to Texas, so I needed to find another place. And I lived with a gymnastics judge, which, in hindsight, and that's where my friend Leanne, who had told me about this whole idea of billeting, she had lived in this. So I lived in her very same bedroom.
Amazing.
And that was awesome. But it was really lonely because they had no kids at home, and they were an older couple. And so I was down in that basement bedroom a lot.
Isn't that interesting? Like being an introvert, there's this weird balance of alone time and like knowing you're kind of feeling lonely, but knowing you're like, it takes a lot of energy to put yourself out there. It's just this weird dance, Like I can put myself in your situation quite easily because, even like the phone call to your mom, it's like, fine. You're just like, I don't know, it's hard to talk about things as a youngster.
It is. Yeah, and there was lots going on. I was physically tired because I was, training 30 hours a week and trying to keep up with school. And, I had to work hard at school. It wasn't super easy. But friendships at school came, like, very easily, luckily. I mean, I don't know how. It doesn't seem easy these days, I'll tell you that. But I was lucky. I had wonderful friends at gymnastics, some of the super supportive. I had to get through a lot of things, though. I mean, the first 6 months of grade 9, I broke my leg at gymnastics. And it was an unfortunate situation that, really happened because my coach thought I should be doing a particular thing, and I had a different coach on bars who saw my ability to swing, and he was like, do you want to learn this amazing release move where you like fly over the bar and re-grab it? And I was like, yes.
That's great.
Sign me up. So he and I like practiced on the sidelines doing drills before practice began for like 3 months. And then one day this bar was set up over the pit, and he's like, hey, you want to try it on the release for, all the way on this pit bar? And I said, sure. So I did this move, and no one at the time in women's gymnastics was doing it in Canada. So he didn't know how to teach it. I didn't know, I'd never seen it before.
Probably no YouTube.
Yeah. Oh gosh, no videos to watch. And so we were just doing our best. And anyway, I tried it, and I almost caught the bar. I hit the bar and, fell off. And then he called over our head coach. He's like, come on, do you want to see what we're working on? So she comes over, and this is the one I'm already scared of. I do it again, and same thing. I almost catch it. Like, this is unheard of. Second attempt at a skill that nobody in my club is doing. And she lays into us. What business do you think you have doing this skill? What are you doing spending all this time? You don't even have a bar dismount. Get over onto those bars and don't get off until you have a dismount. And I don't remember the reaction of my male coach, who to this day I still am so grateful to. And we message each other every once in a while. He's just a lovely human being. And I don't remember what he would have thought in that moment, although he's told me what he thought of the general toxicity of the club. But yeah, I went and I tried to do a dismount off of bars for 2 hours by myself. Everyone else went to other events, but it was just not possible because the dismount I wanted to do, and I had done the year before but lost because I hadn't been training it, was a double back off bars, and you can't just throw that. So I decided, okay, maybe I'll teach myself a full twist off bars. And I was doing a half and a half and a half and a half. And then the next day I said to her, I'll do it this time. So will you watch? So she was watching, and I cranked that full twist as hard as I could, and of course made it 3/4 of the round, but my leg stayed back here and the rest of my body went, and so I snapped my leg, and I now had a broken leg. So I remember being in the hospital and my mom calling, or I called my mom, and she said, I think you should come home. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll come home. And then I talked to the coach, and she said, no, I think you should stay. And I was like, what? You think I should stay? Like, I would literally do anything to please this woman. Yeah. And so I called my mom back and I said, she wants me to stay. I think I should stay. And yeah, and so began like a rather hellish few months where I was recovering. I was living in with a billet, really encouraged to stay in my room because they needed family time and whatever. So I was in my room a lot. And I was at gym. My coach gave me this 3 pages of conditioning that she wanted done, and it literally took me like the full 4 hours. And I was by myself doing it off in the corner most of the time, and I ended up getting really burnt out. I think I was depressed. And she, and so one day I made the mistake of crumpling up the conditioning and throwing it in the garbage and going into the change room. And all of a sudden, we could all hear stomp, 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 because it was like this raised wood floor in the change room, and everyone's looking at each other, and I knew she was coming for me. And sure enough, she grabs me by the ear and the kind of the shoulder, walks me out to the gym and takes the paper out of the garbage. Someone must have ratted me out, and says, "You will rewrite this, and don't ever be so disrespectful again. And, if you want to," what did she say? "If you don't start losing weight and getting serious about this conditioning, you might as well go right back to Edmonton. You're a waste of your mother's money, my time, and your own effort." And I was like, and it was in front of like all these parents in the balcony and all the teenage boys and girls that were coming in that were my friends. And it was just devastating. And so I tried, but yeah, and I started like sneaking out after I'd go home early with the people who I eventually then lived with the next year. They would take me home and drop me off, and I'd go to my room for the rest of the evening. But I just couldn't do it. And so this coach hired someone to like babysit me at gym and make sure I did all the conditioning. And I have such mixed feelings. No, I don't even have mixed feelings. It was cruel. It was really awful. Yeah. And yet I never felt like sorry for myself. I just felt like I just wished I could do it. I wished I could do it better. And so I got through that period, and I stayed for another 3 years, and enjoyed my school time and enjoyed so many aspects of my gymnastics time, but really continued to struggle under her until we got new coaches who were great to me. Although, there was the same sort of lack of compassion for the athletes. And I think it was it taught me so much about resilience, and I just kept thinking, if I just work harder, that will solve everything. And it did solve a lot of things, but it didn't change the culture of the sport I was trying to do.
And the work harder things, because you can easily give up, right? Some people probably would have given up, but you had a gear to actually just stick with it. When you're coming out of high school, do you have a plan? Do you know it? Do you have like direction, whether it's scholastically or sport-wise? Did you know what you wanted?
Yeah, well, so I had pretty good success in my last year of high school in gymnastics. Again, it all revolved around gymnastics.
Like national stuff, team stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're playing at a high level.
Yes.
Like very elite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And yet not like no dreams of the Olympics. Okay. And because of that injury, I never really recovered from the injury. I proceeded to do the next several years of sport in pain, and just like disassociating from the pain. Yeah. But it really interfered with, how good I could be that's why I was so good at bars, because I didn't have to use my foot. Yeah. But other events, I just didn't have the muscle power, the ability to do as much training on it as I would have liked. But nonetheless, I ended up, they were suggesting that I try to get a scholarship that's true. In grade 11, my coaches said to me, look, you can go the high performance track and try to make the national team, but you're going to have to do compulsories, which are now not even a thing, but that's a whole set of 4 routines that everybody in the world does, and you're judged on those. And then you also have your own optional routines. So you have 8 routines. Or, Kim, you could focus on getting a scholarship, which we think you should do because we know your financial situation. We think you should try to get the scholarship, and you only have to do optional routines. I was like, yeah, well, that's kind of a no-brainer. So I'll try to get a scholarship. And I was kind of left to my own devices. But I had my billet mom from grade 10 come and film me.
Amazing. Highlight reel thing.
Yeah, it was a total, like, a 1989 or 88. I don't know exactly
cool,
when.
like VHS like handy cam?
Big one.
Yeah.
She came and recorded me at practice doing a bunch of routines and things. And then I remember I sat and she filmed me while I did, hi, I'm Kim Shore, and I'm a gymnast who would really like to go to your school. So I did that, and I just randomly sent it out to a whole bunch of Div 2 schools. Yeah. Not even a whole bunch, maybe 10. Yeah. And I didn't know who I was targeting. There was no internet at the time. I knew nothing. And I didn't think very much of myself, I guess. Like, it didn't occur to me to send it to any of the big schools. Yeah. And so I had like responses from probably most of those schools. And then sort of out of the blue, I got a call from the University of Nebraska. And they were a Div 1 school. They'd been in like the top 6 in the country in the NCAA consistently. And so he reached out and he said, I received your tape from, I think, Kansas, and you should definitely be applying for Div 1 schools, and would you consider coming on a recruiting trip? So I went, and then I, at the same time, had Oregon State, I think it was, with the same invitation. So I went to Nebraska, and the guy was really nice, and the school seemed great, and all that stuff, and so I just accepted it, and I never went on another recruiting trip.
One and done.
My mistake. My mistake. Not only did I not choose for weather, which was such an oversight. I should have gone to Florida.
I was just going to say Florida.
Right? Or UCLA or something. No, I went to Nebraska, and so I accepted their scholarship. And
were you like, it's a lot to figure out at a young age. Did you just, this is like, before all the internet and like all the, it wasn't so connected back then. Mm-mm. So it's a big flyer, right? When you make that decision, you just trust it. Because and I might be putting words in your mouth, but you'd done so much by yourself. Like the independence things was so strong. Mm-hmm. Just you doing you.
Yeah. And I think because my mom wasn't in the same city as me, and she's super resourceful and super smart, and I think she would have given me really good coaching and advice had she been in my day-to-day. Yeah. But I saw her once a month. Yeah. Like a weekend a month, maybe. Sometimes even every 2 months. Yeah. And so she wasn't sort of there in the day-to-day. And my coaches, for whatever reason, weren't really super helpful. I mean, they certainly put the idea in my head, which was helpful. But I don't recall them necessarily. I don't even know how I got the addresses to send the tapes.
So,
like it just rando, send them to whoever. Mm-hmm. And I think with respect to Nebraska, I mean, although I never thought of myself as a potential Olympian, I did have aspirations to be as good as I possibly could be. Yeah. And so when they called, and they were definitely the best school, like one of the top schools in the country, I thought, just accept it. Like, what's there to, you're not going to ask any questions. Just be grateful you got the opportunity. And I think now I would encourage my daughters to do it differently, right? Like, make sure you feel it's a fit, and make sure you ask some tough questions, and that they have the same values that you share, and I just did it.
It's kind of wild, right?
Yeah, it is kind of wild now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's a big swing.
Yeah, it was a big risk. And actually, so that was grade 12, 1989. Nationals were in Edmonton, so back to my hometown kind of thing. And the coach from Nebraska came up to watch me. Cool. And I still have the article in my photo album. The Journal did a piece on us, and there's a picture of me and him like sort of glancing at each other and having this conversation, totally staged. But he was a really nice guy. Let me just keep saying that. A really nice guy. I was really looking forward to being in an environment that I thought would be supportive and led with some kindness. And It wasn't until about 5 years ago I was rereading the article itself, and my Calgary coach, he said, I think Kim will do great down there. She knows it's a business and whatever. And I read that and went, did I? I don't think I did. I don't think until like I was in my 40s did I really understand that the NCAA is a business, and they don't really care about individual athletes necessarily. The school is, relying on athletes to, produce good entertainment so that the alumni support it and so that spectators come and watch it. Yeah. I didn't understand that. And so when I went down there, I think it was a bit of a shock. Well, I know it was a shock. I remember the first weekend I was there, and I had a roommate from Nebraska, not a gymnast at all, lovely girl. And I was looking out the window, and I said, oh, hey, Kelly, like, there's all these people walking towards the school with like red and white on and red and white umbrellas and purses in the shape of footballs. And like, what is happening? Are we having a parade today? She said, no, Kim, that's just a football game. And there's like, I can't remember the number, but like, I think it was 80,000 people, like 80,000 people watching those games, the football games. And then
business. Yeah.
And 10,000 watching gymnastics competition.
No way.
Yeah. Like, and in Alberta, we're lucky if we get 5 people who aren't friends and family. So I was not used to that at all. I didn't know it was a business. And yeah.
Once you got there, when there's 10,000 people watching you, it's like full sports down there. How'd you settle in? Did you like find a groove, or was it?
Yeah, no.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Manage.
I think I was really burnt out from my club experience. Yeah. And I'd had some unfortunate, at the very, like in that last year, some unfortunate, again, like just abuse in all forms, I'll say. Yeah. Leave it at that. It was pervasive. And so by the time I got to the university, I had this old ankle injury, and my coach, although I was training quite well, I had missed some practices over the summer. I didn't really know where I fit anymore because I was going to university. I didn't want my mom to have to pay for summer training. And so I worked out with all of my high school guy friends in the gym. So it was a bit of a like brick shit house, like coming into...
Like you were like...
I was built.
Pretty thick.
But that was not the look at the time.
Definitely not the look.
No, that was not what gymnasts were supposed to look like. We were little wafy things back in the 80s.
Yeah.
I
like
would
little.
Yeah, and I was never little.
Yeah.
Like that was not I'm not that structure. I'm small, but I'm not like wafy at all. And I would have done much better if I was a gymnast in today's model, but here we are. So I get there, and the coach decides he's going to weigh us before every practice and at the end of every practice. Amazing. Oh, it gets better. Then he's graphing it on paper where we are in comparison to each other and posts it on the hallway of the university.
Jesus.
So I'm at my heaviest weight ever, and he's graphing it and posting it. And I'm already weight sensitive. I didn't really go into that before, but I said Sue. My coach told me that if I didn't get serious about losing weight, I might as well go back to Edmonton. And then she proceeded to weigh me for the next couple of years. And like, it was never an easy thing. And so here I am in university, and he's doing the same thing. And I'm just like, whoa. So I hated that. And then he says to me, I'm worried about you making it through a season because you're not used to doing as many competitions as are required in the NCAA. So I think you should get ankle surgery. And I'm like, oh, and nothing in my life ever really felt like a choice. Like as a gymnast, you do what you're told. Yeah. And you don't make a lot of decisions for yourself. And even though I was independent, I didn't make a lot of decisions day to day for myself. My whole life was a structure. And so I said, okay, I guess I have to get surgery then. I don't want surgery, but I'll get it. And I just
trust these people, right?
Yeah, and I just kind of kept my mouth shut and went along with what they thought was best. Because he said, if you don't get it and you can't make it through the season, I'll be taking your scholarship away. And I was like, oh, how's that going to work? Now we'll be paying for this. This is impossible. So I went ahead with surgery. I think it went fine, but I was then crutching 10 blocks to physio in the morning and then 10 blocks back to my dorm to eat, lunch, and then going to classes and then going to practice. And I mean, it was just exhausting. And we had tutoring every day and like every night study hall for 3 hours. And it just wasn't really a great life. And there was, a guy there was a predator too, like a volunteer coach that turned out to be quite a predator. And he had a thing for me and constantly wanted me to get in his red Corvette. And he's now on the permanently banned list, if that gives you any indication of the type of person he was. So, and I by now had a radar for that. So luckily I, was able to keep my distance, and also the seniors on the team had warned me to stay away from him. So yeah, I think there was things there, but I did still really like the head coach. He was a good guy, and the team was really good, and they were really nice, and they really wanted to medal. They wanted to be top 3 in the country, and I was hopeful about that. But by Christmas, I couldn't do it anymore. And so I just left.
Wow.
And that was really hard. It was hard because the rhetoric, then the girls got kind of nasty and they were like, oh, she only came down here for free surgery. And I was like, wait, I'm from Canada, right? Like we
do get free surgery.
Yeah, it's free. I didn't do this to come for that. But so it was really unfortunate. And in some ways I wish that my resilience could have pulled me through that. It just was at its end. I didn't have any left in the tank.
Which kind of it makes sense, right? Like when it's been like that long, like everyone's got a time. Like, okay, uncle, like just like
uncle,
okay,
that's it. Yeah,
like okay, I'm done. Just
wave the white flag.
Totally
Somebody please take me home. Yeah. So that was that. I didn't last very long. 6 months.
Now at the time, devastating or just like I'm sure it was upsetting and like all the things. Now you look back on it, you're like. It's such a like, it was so long ago. You're so young, did it affect your trajectory? Yes, no, but it's just at the time though. I'm sure it felt just like this is the end. Like,
yeah. And it was a heartbreak because that was the one goal that I had really tried to get to achieve, and to have to say goodbye to it. And yeah, I guess that was really hard. And I didn't know what that meant for my schooling.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant. I knew I had to have a university education. Like I was an achiever for sure. Even though I wasn't super academic, I still wanted to achieve. And I wasn't sure how I would pay for school in Canada. Yeah. And so very fortunate. I had my next coaching experience was great. The head coach of the University of Alberta Gymnastics program, which we had back then in the early 90s, she knew I was thinking of coming home. And so she contacted me. She said, I can help you get into U of A. We've got some great support from the dean of phys ed and on. And they got me into school. So I got to start school January. It was a short turnaround. I had a wonderful semester there. I had some recovery. I have vivid memories of being on beam, and Fine Young Cannibals was playing in the background.
So good.
And I was trying to pump myself up to do my tumbling series on beam, and I'm bawling. And it's just like residual trauma because I'm in a happy environment now. I'm feeling good. I'm confident because I'm one of the best. And I'm not having to work that hard to be at the top of the game, but I'm a freaking emotional disaster. So anyway, that team was great. They supported me. The coach was super great. The whole school was great. My longtime self-appointed godfather worked at the U of A, so he coached the Golden Bears hockey, Bill Moore's.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's there for a long time?
Long time, under Claire Drake at first, and then he took over the program. And his wife was my mom's boss and best friend.
Amazing. And
so we had spent years from age 8 till today. I just actually was texting him yesterday. Awesome. And so he had an office at the university because he was on staff there. And so I would go up to his office and hang out there for an hour almost every other day and just talk with him. Cool. And it was wonderful. Now, it crushed my dating career because he basically threatened all of his hockey players that if he went anywhere near me, that they would be in real big trouble. And the gymnastics team and the hockey team at the time were really close, and we did a lot of like activities together, and like all the teams were pretty close, but that was a particular one. Some of them wouldn't even talk to me.
Totally,
So
just like
so great experience, but I needed some time to recover. But yeah, U of A was tremendous. I credit that program with helping me reconnect with the joy of gymnastics and trusting that coaches could be well-meaning and deliver nice sport. I won nationals that year.
Oh, you got after it.
Yeah, I did. Our team won nationals.
Cool.
So as an individual and team, and then I won Rookie of the Year, and you
came back.
I was sort of validated for all the hard work. And
you said something interesting. When you're on that beam and you're kind of breaking down with the Fine Young Cannibals, was it She Drives Me Crazy? Or was
yes.
Okay, cool. Good. That's as you're telling the story, that's what I'm playing in my head. Did you guys have access to a sports psych back then?
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. This is before all that.
Way before all that, I think, because that wasn't even a thing. No.
Isn't it interesting, though? Because it's, these examples have been there forever. And I don't know when sports psych, I've had a couple of really cool ones on the show.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's why I'm
I don't know when that became a thing.
Yeah. It's more recent than we think.
Yeah.
It's not.
The irony of the whole thing is that the woman I consider to be my most abusive coach actually introduced me to visual imagery. And we used to have to lie in the change room and do visual imagery. And I credit that with... So back to that release move that I got in trouble for trying.
Yeah.
The second I had a cast on my leg and then all this conditioning to do, she also said, you should be doing 25 of those release moves a day. So in a cast, a plaster, 10-pound cast, I had to do this release move. And the male coach who had taught it to me, had to spot me. So he's dodging a 10-pound foot, flying.
It's a piece of cement.
Yeah, flying across the bar. And it's totally dangerous, completely inconsiderate of all of our safety. But I did it. But the mental imagery was what taught me to do it. Yeah, so important.
Do you still use that?
Only for physical things, no.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. I would say not often now.
Because it takes a lot of energy to do it.
Yeah.
I find.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And sorry to interject, but it's I water ski a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
And some of the biggest, I've been really after for 15, 14 years. And the years that I've had the biggest growth, because the season's so short, right? May to September.
Yeah.
And so the years that I've had the biggest growth, I had this, when I was training all winter at the gym, I was very mindful about thinking about the acts that I was going to do on the water.
Oh, cool.
And it's very clear to me. I spent a lot of time on the off season, thinking about it almost every day at the gym. Whether I was lifting sixes, I do, because I have 6 turns when I'm skiing.
Okay.
I do 6 lifts. And it was just very, very top of mind. And it put me on this trajectory of a hockey stick, from figuring out how to ski in a course to then really getting it. It was this very like that, but it takes a lot of energy. And now I'm old, and I don't have the mental discipline to go there anymore, because it takes so much energy. You're running a business, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
To commit that kind of energy to it, I can't find it.
Yeah, I think it was the single greatest tool that I learned that helped me. It didn't do much for the emotional recovery.
Yeah,
that's a different thing. But for preparation and confidence building, it was tremendous. And I guess it came into play a couple years later. So I did gymnastics at the U of A for a couple of years, and then the program basically dissolved.
Okay.
Yeah. And a couple of my gymnastics teammates and I decided that we would like to try competitive aerobics. And
Sweet.
Yeah. And so we talked to our most favorite instructor, aerobics instructor, and she said, and her name was Marjorie O'Connor, and to this day she is still the most wonderful coach in my memory. So I've had a couple, the U of A coach and then this next Marjorie O'Connor. And she said to us, okay, sure, you guys have some potential because you were gymnasts, but you need to teach aerobics for a year and then come back and talk to me. But you have to be aerobics oriented, not gymnasts.
Yeah.
So we did that. And I taught like 10 classes a week, which also paid for my school because now I was on my own.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, when the program goes to zero, now you got to pay for it.
And it wasn't that much funding. Do you remember like Jimmy Condon scholarship? That was all we were getting.
Gotcha.
So I was thinking $1,500 per semester or something. So I was working, I was teaching classes and I was waitressing and I was training and
all the things.
It was a lot of things.
Do you imagine? At our age, you think about like that point, like how the fuck do you do it?
I know,
like
right?
all the energy and like late night, like all the things, you just like did it.
I'm just glad I got a degree out of it.
What were you taking? I was
Psychology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because and when you started that, did you know that's like when you went back to U of A, did you know that's what you wanted to do?
No, I scoured that catalog for any degree that did not involve math. Yeah. Because I had zero confidence that I could get through a university level math course of any sort. And it did have one stats course and I worked my ass off in it and I got a 7. It was a stay 9 system, so 7 out of 9. I don't know how, but I really worked hard, but I was scared. So I think that's why I worked so hard. And every other class I took was written, like no math whatsoever. So that's why I went into psychology. No desire or no thoughts of what I would do after.
Did you wrestle with that? You know, you're spending money to be somewhere. You're getting older. There's people around you that are like, you know, whatever path engineer, doctor, lawyer. They're very like on the thing. Did you?
No, I don't know why. And I sort of felt like you were going to ask me this question.
Oh, really?
but I didn't because I didn't have. Maybe in Edmonton, it's a different vibe than Calgary, right? Like the
university kind of vibe.
Yeah,
it's like it's
artsier.
Yeah,
where I was.
I don't know shit because I didn't go there, but like it seems like a more, I don't know, like tight knit kind of thing up there. From just like watching all the teams and people that go up there just love it.
I don't know. We didn't talk about academics. Like we talked about sports a lot in my sphere, at least the first 3 years, and I wasn't friends with anyone that really did engineering.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just knew I needed a degree. It was like the only thing I knew. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It was really important for me to have that because I knew that no one could take that from me once I had it.
Yeah.
It was not fleeting like sports. Those were fleeting accomplishments, but a degree was something that would last me for life.
Yeah.
And I was in a sport that was very much had a time limit, at least back then, right? Like, you know, much past 19, you weren't doing anything in gymnastics back then. So we decided we were going to do this competitive aerobics. We taught a ton of classes, and after a year, we said to Marjorie, "What do you think? Would you be willing to coach us?" She said, "Sure." So we put together this routine. We went to Vancouver to nationals to compete it, and we frickin' blew the roof off. People were just like, "What?" And because we had incorporated gymnastics into the routine, like weren't allowed to do any flips or anything, but some of the leaps and jumps and stuff were still pretty novel. Yeah. And everyone does them now and more in competitive aerobics. But back then, like it was a shocker and the whole crowd went crazy. Cool. And so we won.
Obviously.
Yeah. And then that was like an automatic ticket to the World Championships. And I was like, wait a second. So I just spent 17 years in gymnastics and kind of got nothing out of it except some good experience, and I loved it. But and you're telling me now I'm going to the World Championships and I've done one competition? Like it was just icing on the cake. So yeah, that was amazing.
It's so funny. I had this dude on the show. His name's Pete Esterbrooks.
I listened to that one.
So in 1984, he was doing aerobics. He became an aerobics instructor in 1984 at the original Heavens place. And so as you're telling the story, I'm like, fuck. This is the second time in like 2 months that we're talking aerobics.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's kind of legendary in this space.
So you get to the Worlds, do the thing. Like
I think we came like 6th or something.
And so you're working, like teaching, like making decent money and doing all the things?
$45 a class.
Amazing. Line them up.
But it was hard work. And I think Pete actually attested to this. Like we were doing high impact aerobics mostly.
Hammering your bodies. And you have like, leg injuries, but everything was like...
Yeah, I did okay, actually. I mean, I would like teach a 9:30 class, go home and have a nap, go to class for a couple hours in the afternoon, teach another class at 5 o'clock. It was a lot. And
sounds like a lot.
And some of them were big. Like I was one of the original instructors at the Kinsman in Edmonton.
Okay.
And I remember specifically that they could fit 63 steps in this room. And so I had every single time, 3 times a week, 63 people in front of me that I needed to like dazzle is what I thought. And, being a perfectionist from my gymnastics years, like I was choreographing that thing, just like that was my mission, was to offer the best class I could every single time. It was a ton of pressure. And yet I loved it, and I found it hard. A reminder, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, and yet I love to lead a class.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I find that scenario is like, if you're in a room, this is how I operate. If I'm in a room, like a big like networking thing or something, I hate it. Like it's super uncomfortable. Like I'll sit on the back wall or just like, but if you put me on stage and I either talk about something that I know or that I'm passionate about, I can speak to whatever the amount of people, it doesn't matter. It's like that flip. It's like being on stage and trust and being passionate and knowledgeable, like breaks this introvert extrovert thing.
Yeah.
But then you come off the thing and it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, you're kind of back to yourself.
It's kind of like, did you find it exhausting?
I think so, because like I said, I'd teach at 9:30, come home, have a nap. Yeah.
Just the energy exchange, right? When you have to, when you got to like do something that's not natural and you got to give all this energy.
Yes.
I find that one takes some time to recover.
But it's also, you're on a high too.
Yeah.
There's a weird thing, like when you finally, I think when you get confident enough that you're doing it and you're allowing yourself to enjoy it, there's a confidence and a high that comes out of that. And yet it's still a big offloading of energy. And my husband, as you know, is an extreme extrovert. And so he
Might be an understatement.
Yeah, right? So he's completely energized and jazzed up by tons of social interaction and or has been. And then I haven't been. And I'm like, I'm a one and done, like one event and I'm out, or like an hour at a cocktail party. I can only do small talk for so long. I always find someone, though, luckily, who wants to deep dive into something that I'm also passionate about. So then I have lots of rich conversation. And as I get older, I'm more extroverted, shockingly. I don't know what that is, but...
Yeah. My dad did that, too. He was like, maybe not introvert, extrovert, but as he got older, he just mellowed out and was willing to be around people.
I mean, I've always found people so fascinating and I love to engage with them. I just never felt very comfortable or confident having small talk conversations. I'm still not a really good conversation starter, but if someone can start it with me, then I'm all in. Yeah.
So you go to Worlds. Are you done school at this time, or are you still in school?
93 was when we went to Worlds. No, I was still in school.
Okay.
I think I had another year or so left. And yeah, because I was working, I think I rarely took a 5-course a semester. It was always 4. So I think I was there for like 5 years. And then I was done and I went traveling on my own. I had Asia in my mind. I wasn't going to do the traditional European backpack. I wanted to go to Asia. So I went to Japan, Thailand, Malaysia, Bali, and Australia.
Oh, I did a tour.
Yeah.
For how long?
About 6 months or so. Mm-hmm.
So when you come back from that, what is that? I've never traveled. So when you come back, are you charged up? Do you have direction? Are you lost? Are you like concerned about what the next thing is?
I wasn't concerned. I don't remember being concerned, but I think I was probably more confident, more comfortable in my skin, and maybe more recovered from, like, those were my childhood and my university days were very taxing emotionally, psychologically, physically, very taxing. So
did you know it when you were in it?
No.
You just accept it as this is like what's happening and what I'm dealt with.
And I've never, until this very moment, you're making me think in this moment how actually traveling might have helped in my recovery.
Right.
Because I was away, I was completely self-reliant. I mean, you couldn't just even call home when you wanted. I had to call like some Canada direct line number. Can you please connect me with Edmonton, Alberta, so I can talk to my mom? And here's the number. And like, it wasn't easy. And if I didn't tell my mom where I was off the grid completely. Yeah, so that was a great experience. And I came back, I think, realizing I needed to find work and go about building a career, and figuring out kind of what I wanted to do. And I really didn't know at the time.
Yeah, which is like, that's a spot at any age, but to like, you got a degree, now what?
Yeah, exactly.
So what'd you do?
Oh, I was a fitness director at a club in Edmonton. I continued to teach aerobics. I probably taught for like another 4 years or so, and then was feeling really burnt out of teaching. And then I ended up moving back to Calgary, and I had sort of my heart set on human resources as maybe my path, to support people in the workplace. And, I think that psychology aspect was coming out in me. And so I did do that for a while, and then completely different direction, and nobody would have seen this coming, especially not my godfather, he actually had to teach me how to be a conversationalist, because he'd ask me a question, I'd be like, yes, no. And he's like, Kim, do you think you could give me more than one word answers? And so we would literally practice. So the fact I became a salesperson for a technology company, he couldn't believe it, and I couldn't actually believe it. But what happened is I, on a whim, went to this interview, and they said, your base salary will be $40,000, and if you make quota, you will double that. And my eyeballs probably went out to here, because money had always been an issue and a struggle and all that stuff. And here was this person saying I could make $80,000 if I was good at it. I was like, sign me up. Yeah, so I did it, not understanding exactly how terrifying it would be. But I had a friend who lent me some cassette tapes that were sales training tapes, and they said, this is the best piece of advice I might have ever got, and it still works for me today. And that is, this cassette tape told me that if you want to get a meeting with a prospect, you call them up and you give them your little pitch, and then you say, so I'd like to arrange a meeting. How does Tuesday at 5 work? And then they would say, oh, Tuesday at 5 doesn't work, but I guess Wednesday at 4 does. So very quickly, you'd be talking about when you're going to meet, not if you're going to meet. And that became like my closer. It worked all the time.
Tuesday 5.
It was so amazing. So even the manager had me do a presentation to the rest of the sales team, because she couldn't figure out, she didn't know why I was closing so well, but these meetings, and that's all I had to do was get meetings. You didn't even necessarily have to sell the product. The entry point was just get the meetings. So, and I would take all my work back to my apartment. This is way before it was appropriate to work from home, but I could not do it in the office. So I took all my stuff, sat on my bed in my apartment, and cold called and tried to set up meetings. And that, I guess, being in the comfort of my own room allowed me to have enough confidence to make these calls. And so, yeah, I'd got lots of meetings. I did quite well. And that job lasted only a year, and then the company, I think, went out of business. But then I got picked up by another company from the U.S., and I was with them for 7 years, and I was their top salesperson for most of that. Because always driving to be really good at what I was doing was always a theme for me.
What is that driver, you think? Is that just like, because nobody else is going to do it for you, so you got like one choice? Like there's no backup, there's no safety net? Or is it just like high-performing human needs to achieve results to like prove themselves, or like self-worth, like all of it?
I think all of it. I think it probably started with realizing I had no safety net. I had to make my own way. There was going to be no bailout.
Yeah, mom's not going to cover rent for 9
No,
months.
and my mom is and was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But moving away from home, I was just me,
Yeah.
and I had this opportunity, and it was up to me whether or not it led to anything and worked. And so, yeah, and I think just having such a work ethic somehow developed or instilled in me, and then a taste of what it's like to be one of the best in something.
Yeah.
So enjoying that and probably needing it because I had, as you can imagine, with all that sort of trauma in my childhood, I definitely had some dark or gaping holes, I guess you could say, in my confidence and in my self-worth. I mean, I must have spent, I don't know how many years in counseling, with every single one of those counselors saying, do you think you have a good sense of self-worth? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess so. I think so. I'm pretty confident because I was confident on the surface, but I don't think I had self-worth, sadly. And so there was other ways that I was trying to fill that hole. So being really good at my job was filling two things. Financially, it was good. And the external validation was probably something I was seeking.
It's so fascinating. So this next sales job, you were there for a while, crushing, doing your thing.
Yep.
Working, like everything's smooth, and then what?
Yeah.
Where do you go to?
Well, then I have a baby. So I get married. Best decision of my life.
Are we talking about the same guy?
We are talking about the same guy.
Okay, just making sure.
There's
I don't
only
know if
been one.
I don't know if there's one before.
There's only been one for the last 24 years.
Okay.
Yes, no, a tremendous human being, very fortunate. Hold on a second.
It's funny. It's fun for me because of the connection, right?
Yeah.
I've known the name since I was, I don't know, 14. And so it's,
Yeah.
that's why the show is so cool, because just these collisions they just happen. And so
That's
it's
right.
fun. It's fun to have context and just as you light up and get it, you know what I mean? It's really cool.
Yeah, so you know the type of personality. He's got a huge personality. He's got a big heart. He's super generous. I think we share a lot of values, and we've managed to make it work. And I feel really proud of that because I don't come from that. I mean, his parents are still together, and they're such role models as far as good partnership. And actually, my mom is too. She's been married to the same man now for well over 30 years. And so, yeah, we've been fortunate to have those kind of role models around us. And so, yeah, we didn't get together with any illusion that it would be easy or simple. And in fact, nothing in my life has ever felt simple. And I think for him, life did feel simple. And that's been such a gift for me to realize that, you know what, everybody deserves to have some easy things in their life and to not always have to crush themselves to get some of the basic human rights and dignity that we all deserve. And I think he taught me that. Yeah.
When did you figure that out? Is that like a recent
Like
revelation?
yesterday.
Okay, good.
No, but
what's today's?
I think it's
today's this 13th.
I think it's been this
Slow.
Slow, yeah. And I think I've resented him at the beginning for how easy he thought everything in life was.
Yeah.
He would literally, he still tells our girls, no, it's the Bichard way, guys. It'll come nicely to you. If you work hard, it'll be easy. So it's not like it's a free ride, but you can trust that everything will work out. He always says that. And
Interesting.
And yeah, I've certainly resented him for it over the years. And then I think he just has... the repetition has drummed it into me. And so, I think I'm willing to trust that good things do happen. You don't always have to, overachieve it.
Yeah.
And that's been a relief.
Yeah, depressurizes the situation, so you're not, redlined all the time, chasing something.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a decent spot.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got married, we got married, and we had a baby, and that was in, 2007. So I think this is such a pattern in my life. I'd worked so hard that I was now burnt out.
Yeah.
And also having a baby, I worked really hard to be a perfect mom, did all the things, the natural birth and the, breastfeeding and all doing everything I could, blending up food and not using the jars.
You went for it.
So yes.
So the pattern just kept going.
Oh,
isn't it
it's so crazy.
It's great. What's interesting is you know, we're all programmed the same way. Like we'll do the same thing over and over. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's our gear, it's our move. Like,
Ooh, you're pointing something out. I'm going to have to think about that later. Yeah, it's that definition of insanity, right? I never thought about it that way, but you're dead on.
sorry.
No, that's fine. It's good to learn. I'm always trying. I'm definitely a learner, if nothing else. I'm willing to pivot and change. And so, yeah, had a baby, ended up resigning from that role just as it was getting super good, super easy. It was probably too easy for me. So then I thought I wasn't
Guilty.
Oh, imposter syndrome all the time. Totally. And I'd been there 7 years, and so I quit. And about 3 months later, they got bought, which is really unfortunate because I probably would have been packaged out very nicely.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was back to redefining myself. I don't remember what I did. I don't remember what I did until we had another child 3 years later.
Yep.
And then I think I just mostly stayed home, actually. I thought I could give this stay-at-home mom thing a go. Wasn't the most natural fit for me. Ryan was a much more natural parent than I was, and that was really hard for a long time until I got better at being a parent, I guess. And then we had another child and another girl, so it was amazing. I couldn't believe my good fortune to have 2 daughters. And then I started trying to redefine myself. So I became a coach. I kind of leaned into that psychology degree and really liked the idea of helping people get unstuck because I had been kind of stuck myself. And so I went through a coach training, got a certificate in that, and then decided that it was the work I was doing was really heavy. Like I was doing one-on-one sort of life coaching, and it was such a privilege and an honor to be with people in that space. But it was also really heavy, and I wasn't through my own stuff yet. So I shifted gears a little and did more corporate coaching and recruiting, and I really liked that, and I ended up being at Graham Construction, which is a very local construction group here, and.
Big one.
Oh, yeah. And just tremendous. I just met the best people there, and they really embraced what I was saying, which is sort of shocking. Very male-dominated environment and a total brotherhood. And yet they were willing to let this woman come in and say, actually, guys, we need to talk about shame. And we need to talk about like how we're showing up here as leaders, because there's a lot of like hardcore old school management technique going on, which is reminding me of my gymnastics coaching that I experienced. And that's not going to bring out the best in your people. So how can we like redefine this? How can we look at this differently? And I went and did a weekend course in colors. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It's like Myers-Briggs, but much more pared down. It's like insights. It's based on 4 different colors, and it's kind of personality typing, and then how do different colors interact with each other.
Okay.
And I must have delivered this course to Graham employees 65 times. Like I pretty much did the entire company.
Okay.
In fact, at the Christmas party, which I was invited to even as a consultant, they all called me the colors lady. Oh, you're the colors lady. Oh, you're the colors lady. So anyway, it was just so validating and a wonderful experience. And I really got so much out of it. I'd do these 3-hour workshops, and at the end we'd go around the table and I'd ask, what was your aha moment today, if you had one? And I would have these big burly like construction superintendents. They're like literally wearing their reflector vests in the session. And these guys would say, like, one guy I remember slapped his hand on the table and said, if only we had done this course last year, I might have saved my marriage. Wow. And other people saying, you know, oh my gosh, I think I understand my son now. You know, he's had all these mental health challenges, and he's a blue, which is very emotive and relationship driven. And this guy was like a green, which is more like an engineering mind, scientific mind, problem solver. And I think I can relate to him better now. And it just was like wonderful vulnerability and wonderful sharing. And it filled my tank incredibly. And I think they walked away thinking it was great too. And so it was wonderful. 7 years of that was wonderful. And and then I kind of deconstructed my own business because I, at the simultaneous to that, my daughter decided she wanted to do gymnastics. And it took her about 2 years to convince Ryan and I that that was a good idea, because he knew what I'd gone through. I knew what I had gone through. And I'd been so disconnected from gymnastics that I was equal parts hopeful that surely after 25 years or whatever, 20 years, things had changed.
Yeah.
But then also, like, what if it hasn't changed? And is this a good idea? But who am I to stop this child who clearly had a gift? She knew how to move. She was enthusiastic about it, and we had literally tried her in 6 other sports.
Just to keep her away.
And finally, when she was like 6, I was like, okay, fine, you can try it. And that's already late. Like, a lot of the girls would start at 4. And so I'm now going into a whole nother story, but the better she got, the worse the coaching got. And I could see what was coming, and I could see how those kids were being treated by the coaches. And although she had the most amazing coach, shout out to Karen, who now runs a gym in Okotoks, owns the gym actually, and just one of the most beautiful coaches I've ever seen. Just loves the children, everything she delivers is developmentally appropriate and meant in the best interest of the child. And I cannot say that for most people I've come into contact with in sport. No ego involved at all. And but once my daughter and her teammates advanced past her, it was like I could see what was coming.
20 years, same thing.
Yeah. It was going to be a repeat of what I'd already lived. And it was devastating. And now my kid's so far into it.
Yeah.
She didn't have anything else to go to, and she loved it. She was into it hardcore twice a day. She's 8 by this time, 8 or 9. And she's already on the high performance track and loving it, but also suffering in between. So
it's wild. Like, for you to have experienced all of it, then here you are, like, you know it's there, but she loves it. Just like that's a hard thing to manage, I'm guessing.
Real hard. And I said to Ryan, don't worry, I can have this fixed in 2 years. So by the time she's really like 10, 11 and starting to compete, I'll have it fixed. And so I basically dropped my career that I'd built and started volunteering. And the club did let me in to work with their coaches, both on the men's side and the women's side. I did leadership development with them. I did workshops. But there was no accountability, no follow through. So even though they participated, I didn't see the change happening in the gym. The kids, I'll never forget, we hosted a party when my daughter was, I think, 6 years old. And this was kind of the start of it. And I had said to the coach that night, one of the coaches, and she was a young gal and she had been through abuse herself, for sure. And I said, look, the girls are going to be really tired tomorrow. So, just keep that in mind. They might not act their normal selves. Well, after practice, I hear that they were misbehaving and so hard for her to control that she made them do rope climbs without their legs. So just like up and down, sitting in a straddle position. Well, these little girls had burns on the insides of their thighs from doing so many rope climbs. And when I talked to her about it afterwards, she said, well, yeah, they wouldn't listen. They were giddy. They were silly. I couldn't. And I was like, that's what 6-year-olds look like when they're tired. So it was stuff like that. And just conditioning as punishment and a lot of yelling and shaming and language from the dance teacher that included like, you're fat, stupid, ugly, you're so ungraceful, you must be a boy. And it was all just reminding me of what I had endured. And I was like, okay, but I'm the adult now. And if not me, then who? Because this can't continue. And I was watching talented child after child after child change and then drop out. And I would welcome any parents that went through that program, and I'm pretty sure people can figure out real quick who I'm talking about, which club I'm talking about. It was still one of the most renowned clubs in the city. And I welcome those parents to reach out to me, because there are so many that are struggling with the guilt of having allowed their kids to do that, both the boys and the girls' side, mostly the girls so. And it's really hard. We were paying for that kind of treatment to our child, and I was trying to control it, and I thought I could control it. I thought I could fix it, and I couldn't. It was much bigger than me.
It's like generational.
It is generational.
And so one person can't change it in a short amount of time.
No.
This is like, it's going to take generations to change it a little bit.
Yeah, and that's when I realized, so I joined the board of directors for Alberta Gymnastics, and that's when I realized it was the whole province. And it was happening in many gyms, not all gyms. There are some really good ones, and there's, like any sport, there's good and bad. But in gymnastics, there's a particular toxic mentality around, like if you're talented, you better work hard, because hard work can outstrip talent any day, which is, I don't disagree with that. But if you're not willing to work hard and you're talented, you're like the worst of the worst. Like, you don't deserve anything if you're, and I always feel like, who are we to judge as the adults what hard work looks like necessarily for a kid? Because we don't understand what's happening to them at school and what's happening in their bodies with growth and changes and mental health. And it's not easy being a kid. It wasn't back then. It isn't now. In fact, I think it's probably potentially worse now. But we need to meet people where they're at and then call them up, not pound them down.
Yeah.
And there was just too much of that old school. And the coaches in Alberta literally said to me, "We're the old guard, and this is how we want it." And so that Gymnastics Alberta experience was really difficult too. I've never felt more powerless. We were, and there was, the CEO was very difficult. He was fully immersed in the coaching culture, and those were all his friends. And for him to do anything to hold them accountable was darn near impossible. And so we were really trying to implement what was by then, and that was 2018, 19, we were calling it safe sport, and it was pretty new.
Yep.
And there was a lot of pushback, a lot of coaches saying you're on a witch hunt, and I had never at this point disclosed my own experience. It wasn't until like 2023 that I even really disclosed what I had been through as an athlete, and also that I'd really connected to my experience having been actually abusive and things that I just had normalized. Even in my daughter's environment, it took other parents who weren't gymnasts to say to me, "Kim, this isn't okay." And I was like, "You're right." And I remember actually what that feels like. And so you're right, it's not, but it's normal in the sport, and it's still not right. And so I joined the board of directors for Gymnastics Canada, thinking the higher I got, the more influence I could have to make this thing better. Again, no. And that was a difficult experience. There were some real allies on both of those boards, actually. There were some people who really wanted to make it better. And frankly, they all suffered. We suffered greatly as board members, and we tried to do things that other people in the space would, connive, I guess, or corrupt it so that we couldn't do what we were hoping to do, that certain procedures were botched. And it was really corrupt. And the people that paid the worst price were the athletes, like adolescent athletes that I've now reconnected with and been able to tell them some of the things that were happening behind the scenes, just so they know that we cared, and that we tried, and that there were forces working against us that didn't allow that thing to happen that should have happened, and they should have been better protected than they were. And, in the end, I ended up resigning in protest from the board of directors of Gymnastics Canada after being called extreme in my views on child abuse. And I was like, well, wait a second, isn't like child abuse extreme in and of itself? Like, we're talking about kids that are being forced to train on broken limbs and are, having extreme eating disorders that require hospitalization, yet they're still being weighed in the gym and we're doing nothing to stop that. So Gymnastics Canada decided to send a coach to the Tokyo Olympics that had open abuse accusations against them, and they hadn't been resolved. And when I saw the name on the list of Team Canada, I said to the CEO, "What are we doing? Like, I don't care if this person is innocent or guilty. That's not up to me to decide. But I know, because the athlete and the family copied the entire board of directors on their complaint, I know that this coach should be under investigation." He's like, "Yeah, well, I've been reassured that all the due diligence has been done." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we've been waiting 8 months to hear, and now they're listed as the Olympic team coach." And then that was like a Friday or a Thursday, and by Monday, I get an email, as does the entire board, saying, "Good news. The coach has been cleared of all the allegations. There was never an investigation going on. They were just trying to weigh the merits of the complaint to see if an investigation could even get done." And I'm like, "Are you serious? This can't be." And then, and so then I was kind of the not odd person, but with the CEO, and then he was just wouldn't hear any other rationale, and I had to resign. I could not stand by that.
It's wild that exists still.
It's pervasive. This is not a one-off that I'm describing.
And from the outside, you're like, one would hope, because we've all, when I say we've all, that's an overstatement, but like the stories in sport from years ago, we've heard them. Hockey, gymnastics, whatever, how people are treated and the rest of it. But, you fast forward to today, one would hope that it would have changed, but it's just the old guard still ruling these things, and they knew it back. That's how they did it back then, and that's how they knew it, and it just keeps going forward.
Yeah, and Canada is behind. We are not world leaders, and whatever anyone says right now in the political sphere, we are in sport. We are not world leaders on how we treat our athletes. The system is broken. I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's been acknowledged now by multiple sport ministers. And so I couldn't stand by. I tried to be at the table where I thought the power was to influence things for the better. It wasn't, so I stepped out and started advocating independently, and here we are 5 years later, and I'm still doing it.
And so what does that look like? To step out and do your own thing, like, what does that actually look like?
Well, it meant like not making any more money. And sort of having a tacit agreement with my husband, who's been nothing but incredibly supportive of this journey, that I would do all the volunteering for our family and he would do all the money making. And so what happened is I left the board and I teamed up with two other former gymnasts, and we wrote a letter, and we did it as a Google Doc and sent it around to our colleagues and whatever who were former gymnasts, and said, "Hey, if this letter resonates," and the letter said that, acknowledged that whoever signed this letter had experienced abuse as a gymnast in their journey. And so it wasn't like, sign this if you were a gymnast. No, sign this if you feel like you endured abusive circumstances. So within 3 days, I think it was, we had 70 signatures. And I was shocked because gymnasts don't speak out. We're just compliant, robotic, we've never had voices ever. But also, hand in hand with this, remember, there's the Larry Nassar situation, the tragedy in the U.S. unfolding that involved largely gymnasts. And they were just so inspirational in speaking out. And I think that empowered many of us to realize what we had endured was in fact abuse, but also that we could speak about it, and to share it was actually really helpful towards healing, and also allowed other people to not live with the shame that we should never have been carrying anyway. And I think Yeah, so we wrote this letter, but I have to give credit where credit's due. And it was actually the bobsledders that wrote the first open letter. And we took inspiration from that. And I think that's how we had the idea to write an open letter, was because they had done it. But within 3 months, I think we had 500 signatures of gymnasts saying that they had been abused.
Across the country.
Yeah, across the country. And now we knew for sure that this was not isolated to my experience or my
You weren't being sensitive or like having weird memories as being a youngster.
Yeah.
This is like real.
And I wasn't just a bad kid.
Yeah.
And all my daughter and her little friends, they hadn't done anything wrong to deserve the treatment that they had. And I wasn't over dramatizing what they had experienced either. It wasn't just a mama bear kind of thing. No, this was like across the country. And so this is where the advocacy journey really started. So I'm on a family vacation. We're on a cruise to Alaska. It's a really special thing. And I get an email from a colleague who works for an organization called Global Athlete. And we'd been in contact before, and I had told him, because I was desperate to find some solutions. I was reaching out to journalists. I was reaching out to the Human Rights Commission. I was reaching out to lawyers. I didn't know how to do this. I wasn't actually aware that there was other people out there who knew how to run like advocacy campaigns, and human rights law was a thing. Like I was so siloed in my knowledge. That was unfortunate. But I was learning quickly, and I got this call, and he said to me, Kim, a journalist called me and said that you and I should attend the Hockey Canada hearing that the Heritage Committee is holding.
The big one.
Yeah. So not the trial, but the precursor that the Heritage Committee, the parliamentary committee, was hosting. And I was like, okay, really? Like government's getting involved in a sport issue? Okay, this is good news actually for what we hope to achieve, because we had sent our open letter to the sport minister and Sport Canada and said, we need your involvement, we need your help. And I hadn't really heard anything yet, I don't think, by this point. Maybe acknowledgement. Maybe I'd actually had a meeting with the chief of staff of the sport minister, but nothing had happened, no changes. So I'm getting off the boat, reading this email, calling this guy, saying, okay, maybe we should go. Saying to my husband, what do you think? He's like, you do what you think you need to do. Again, endlessly supportive. And I get to the airport. We're going to fly back to Calgary from Vancouver, and I'm booking a flare trip that was luckily super economical to go to Ottawa. So I went back to Calgary, had 45 minutes to repack my suitcase with clean clothes and stuff like suits and whatnot. I didn't know what to wear to Parliament, never been to Parliament.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, sounds fancy, you're right. And my mom came and picked me up, which became a tradition. She ended up driving me to the airport for every one of my Ottawa trips. And I hopped on that plane, went to Ottawa, landed in the middle of the night, got up like 5 hours later and went to the Heritage Committee Hockey Canada hearing. And all of the Hockey Canada executives were there that day. So and the sport minister was due to testify also. So the morning was the Hockey Canada executives, and she came in the afternoon, and there was tons of media. So I'm in the audience with my colleague and all this media around us. And I had also connected a lot with Rick Westhead, and we had done a documentary about gymnastics. And so he was there and had lots to go through with him. And other than that, I was kind of unknown. And this is really embarrassing. But Hockey Canada does their thing, and I'm like, oh my God, that's like the same thing I experienced in Gymnastics Canada, but way worse and way more money involved, and people actually benefiting financially from these people maintaining the status quo, the silence, the lack of transparency, lack of accountability. This is all familiar, but worse. So they get up and go, and everyone's like, do you think the sport minister's going to come? Like, maybe, maybe not. She doesn't have to, but hopefully she will. Anyway, she shows up at the door. She walks in. This is the embarrassing part. She puts all her things down, and I'm reaching in my purse to grab my cell phone so that I can take a photo to send to my team. By this time, I've started this organization with other gymnasts. So we co-founded Gymnasts for Change Canada. And we had a bit of a name because of all the media attention we gotten from that letter that we sent. And yeah, I'd done all kinds of interviews by this time. And again, the introvert in me was like losing her mind because it was like, took way more energy than any small talk I'd ever experienced. But so we had a name out there. The sport minister walks in, puts her things down at the table, starts to walk back. I'm reaching into my purse to get my cell phone. Have my camera in front of my face like this, and she's literally standing right in front of me. So she had come right towards me to shake my hand and thank me for the work that myself and my colleagues were doing while I'm trying to take her picture. Like
amateur hour.
Totally amateur hour. It was so embarrassing. But I will say that was, whether she meant it or not, I think she did, but it was probably one of the most generous things anyone in Ottawa ever did to help us get started. Other people stepped up after that, but she really helped because now I had 50 media personnel in the room going, "Who's that? Why is the minister shaking her hand?" And then all the MPs around were like, "Who's that?" And so a lot of them came up to me. And then her testimony got underway, so they went into the meeting. And after the meeting, she and I had about a 20-minute exchange where she was like, "How can I help? What can I do?" And by this time, we were pretty much ready to say we need government intervention. We need something like a national inquiry. So that's when that conversation first started. I put that to her. How about a national inquiry? And then I went back into the room, and I had printed out pages of quotes from gymnasts here in Calgary and around Canada, what they had endured. So what they had endured as a 8-year-old, and the yelling and the screaming and the shaming and the physical injury and so forth. I had pages of them. And I went around to each of those MPs of the Heritage Committee and I spoke to them. And I said, "I'm asking you to expand your study from hockey to all sport. And if not all sport, at least the big ones, gymnastics, track, soccer." And by this point, I had had tons of other athletes reach out to me. So I knew it was not just a gymnastics problem. I knew we were dealing with a massive sport crisis. And they're like, "Okay, well, we'll think about it. Maybe we'll take a vote in September." And this would have been end of July. And so they did. They actually went ahead and took a vote, and they decided to do a safe sports study. And that allowed 104 witnesses to come forward. Most of those were athletes. Some of them were people who worked in the sport industry or the sector. And they produced a report at the end of it. And then simultaneous to that, when I had that kind of success, and one of the MPs that was questioning the Hockey Canada executives, her name was Karen Vecchio from the Conservative Party, and she was also the chair of the Status of Women Committee. So I emailed her and I said, "I really appreciated what you were doing in that Hockey Canada trial or hearing. Can we meet?" So we met, and we presented to her the idea of doing a safe sports study, the impact of sport on women and girls and their involvement in gender-based violence. There was lots of topics that they could explore. And they voted and decided, yes, they would do it too. So I probably went to Ottawa like 15 times.
Mom every time.
Yeah, mom every time driving me to the airport. Husband taking care of all the home stuff. Me off, on our dime mostly until some money came in from some donors or whatever to support us. And, there was about 6 of us really working hard day in, day out at this Gymnasts for Change and trying our best. And so I think I've met with somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 or 80 MPs, senators, policymakers, Human Rights Commission. Like I met with as many people in Ottawa as I possibly could to say, this is what's happening in sport. This is what I've heard from multiple different athletes from different sports. And by that time, you know, the sport minister had admitted nationally that we had a crisis of abuse in Canadian sport, from grassroots all the way up through to international level, and something needed to change. And both reports from both parliamentary committees concluded the same thing, and that was they were recommending a national inquiry because of its robust constitutional mechanism that could give the level of transparency and attention and rebuild public trust and have some teeth to it. And unfortunately, by this time, we were now on our second sport minister, and that sport minister called for a national commission instead of an inquiry, which is a different mechanism. And that group did their thing the last couple of years. I was heavily involved with it, testifying and, you know, supporting other survivors to come forward and testify to them. And there was aspects of it that I really respected and appreciated, and the judge who ran the commission was phenomenal, as was one of the special advisors, Noni Clausen. She is just fabulous and really well-versed in child protection. And so they've just presented, a month ago on March 24th, they presented their final report. And they have I think it's 90 or 70 some odd recommendations. And we'll have to see, and because they're recommendations, not mandates, we'll have to see what happens.
This is you just doing your thing, hey? Like figuring out, like setting your mind to it and just like doing it. Same way as like
sport, you're right.
All the things, right?
Having no clue what I'm doing, making lots of mistakes, probably burning some bridges, making other connections. I think I'll have some lifelong great connections from it, for sure. Lifelong friends now. But yeah, I had really no idea what I was doing.
Like straight uphill. Like just like uphill battle.
Pushing the rocks.
Just
straight uphill. That's kind of how I've lived my life, actually, isn't it? Now that you've walked me through the arc. Here we are. Yeah.
All the research you did, I don't think you probably knew that was going to unfold.
Yeah.
So now what? Like you got the jam, you got this is, obviously it's like in you. Like this is, with your background in sport, your education, the experiences with the colors, like it's all kind of there. This is it. This is your path right now. And for the
foreseeable future. Yeah, I'm just trying to manage my energy to be able to stay in it a little longer. And what I hope I'm doing right now with all of my connections and the advocacy work I'm doing, and how much time I give and devote to taking calls from people of all ages. I'm hoping that I'm doing a good job of handing off. So I know this is not going to be solved in my lifetime. And that was a devastating realization a couple years ago, that I could not fix this. None of us right now can fix this. This is going to take a lot of time. We've got the work of Rick Westhead, who's pushing hard in hockey to get this better, get it fixed, demand accountability. Myself and many others in gymnastics and other sports have been doing the same. It's not going to be fixed in my lifetime, but I'm laying track, and I'm going to lay as much track as I can so that the next generation can pick up from a much better place than I started from. And so I support young advocates now and support survivors to decide how and if they want to lean into their lived experience of abuse or whatever it was that they learned from sport, and how it could be applied now to make things better for their future athletes. I started speaking internationally at different conferences and shedding light on the fact that, in Canada we're really nice, but we're not so nice to our athletes. And our coaches, I think, are basically hurt people that are now hurting people. And it's going to keep going. Like, we are in this cyclical loop, and we haven't treated our Indigenous people well. And it's the same kind of trauma that is like becoming pervasive in our society. Like, we have to start realizing we're not as nice as we thought. And we have huge gaping holes in, you know, how we honor human rights and dignity in the people. And if we want to be a super prosperous nation economically and socially, like, we have to start helping our children have healthy and happy childhood experiences so they can come out of sport better, not worse. And that was the thing. Like, I grew up believing, and I still believe it at my core, that sport is good. Yeah. But man, is it corrupt, and it's delivered in such a way that you're lucky if you had a good experience.
Yeah.
And I deal with a lot of people that say, well, my hockey experience, my gymnastics, my soccer was phenomenal. And I'm like, yes, great. And in fact, our current sport minister would say he had a phenomenal sport experience. Great. Then you're exactly the person that should be helping ensure that every kid has that healthy, happy experience. Because I'm the one that's taking the calls from the kids and the teenagers and the young adults who are, you know, suffering from anxiety, depression, self-harm, suicide ideation. You know, I know of athletes who have committed suicide. I know of survivor advocates who are committing suicide because they can't overcome. Yep. And it's so upsetting, and so, like, when you work so hard to make change and then it just goes back to the way it's always been. So the onus is on all of us. Like, I'm so hopeful, and I think this is coming. I'm so hopeful that we can, like, link arms and have, like, this village mentality for how we run sport. And that is, like, I don't do this because my kids are in sport. In fact, I only have one child who's in volleyball. It's not even a sport that I have a radar on specifically. I still fight for elite gymnastics to be safe, not because my kid's in it, but because I feel responsible for every gymnast now that goes through that. And I hope that every coach will feel some responsibility for ensuring that these kids come out of the program healthier and happier and prepared to be functional adults rather than have to take 20 years like I did in counseling just to recover from it.
How do you manage the, like, exhaustion of all this, but give it enough energy to keep pushing it? Because I feel like there's just, like, you know, as people call you and you deal with these conversations, like, this isn't, you know, Cracker Jacks and, like, Rainbow. It's like, this is, you're in it. How do you have a mechanism that you kind of, like, allows you to keep pushing?
I think I'm super fortunate that, for one thing, my husband is as funny as he is.
Yeah, so he's going to think that, like,
I know,
paying for this.
He's going to, well, but humor is our mechanism.
Cool. Yeah.
And so we laugh a lot at home. And we have lots of hard times, and it's not easy. And it's not easy for our kids who are growing up today. It's not, adolescence is really hard right now, and social media and the addiction to phones for kids and the confusing messaging that they're getting. I mean, it's really challenging. But above and beyond that, we have love and humor in our home, and I think that sustains us, and it certainly has sustained me. My mom is my go-to person she will listen endlessly to everything I've had to say all these years. And
sainthood.
Yeah, it is, because you are already picking up that most of my stories are really hard.
You tell some shit.
Yeah. And I just think, for one thing, I approach it as such an honor that people trust me. That they trust me with their stories. And they do so most often so selflessly, because they really think that if they could get the courage or the strength to take a stand or push back in many, like, all kinds of different ways, even the little micro ways that you can push back on a system, they know that that's contributing to change. And you don't have to be the one that's out there in front of the media. That's not the only way to make change. You know, calling up a coach and saying, hey, is there a better way that could have been done? Is there a different way that you could have treated that athlete? Or like, hey, other parents, like, there's hazing going on this hockey team here that's really having a detrimental impact on the kids. Do you think there's a better way that we could support our kids so that they're not inclined to do this sort of thing? You know, how can we be better role models for the kids? That's all ways to push towards making the system better. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I've had to be really diligent about things like ensuring that the people who are in my surroundings are really healthy. So I've spent time and I've developed really strong relationships with people who are survivors. And some survivors, you know, are still viewing everything through the lens of their own trauma and the rage that's there. And I work hard to support people that are in that space. But when it becomes dangerous for me, I step out. Yeah. I need a good sleep at night. I need to eat well. I need to exercise, which is, you know, I equate exercise to sport in many ways. And therefore, that's why I'm still a believer that sport is super important, because I would not be here if I didn't have exercise, if I didn't have sport. Yeah. And yeah, so I have to do some of those things to keep the flame going. I'm looking at the book on your table there that says share the flame. And yeah, so I think that's key to it too. You do have to share the flame. You can't carry it all yourself, but you need to, you know, if we hope that change will happen, we need to keep elevating other voices. Like, kudos to Eric Francis for giving me this opportunity to tell my story, right? He recognized after I did a presentation at the Winter Club with his wife. She helped me do a presentation. It was the first really vulnerable talk I've given about my experience in sport. And, you know, and he works with professional sport. So he, you know, that's changing the status quo right there, to elevate my voice into a space where people are making money, and this is, you know, they believe in professional sport and they're willing to do it at a high cost. You know, I'm the person that's kind of challenging that to some extent. So yeah, I think giving voice to people, and that's why during this commission, I thought it was really important that I talk to people who might not have heard about the commission even happening, that, hey, if you want this opportunity, it's yours. You know, if you want to do it, tell me how I can support. Here's how it's safe. Here's how it might not feel safe. So here's an area we might need to do better on. But yeah, I think elevating voices is really important, and taking care of myself. And definitely, I don't always enjoy being the face of it, so I've stepped back from that quite a bit. And want to do my work from maybe a different space, and also bring it back to local. I went very international for the last few years. In fact, I'm currently consulting for an international group, and what we're doing is building a fund. We've got almost $3 million to support survivors of abuse in sport who are doing advocacy work and systemic change work in Europe. And I'm devising how we're going to work that, how we're going to distribute grants, who's going to be a part of that decision making. And so that feels like a really great way for this work to be sustainable for me, but then have a legacy well past me. And that feels really gratifying. And that's giving me a little bit more wind in my sails to come back to Calgary. And because it's been scary, like it's easier to advocate at the federal level and have that anonymity. Like, not a lot of people in Calgary know the work that I do or why I do the work. I do the work because of what I experienced in Calgary. And I know we can do better. And I know the people in the sports community and all the parents and the athletes in Calgary, I mean, there's dozens and dozens, hundreds of us. And we know that it's not all rosy. And we need to get brave and start like coming together to say, how can we make this better, safer for children? Because Canadian kids deserve better.
Great way to dot it. Now, like, just very clear, like, why Eric thought it was a good idea that you come on the show.
Thanks.
You can, like, it's to hear the story, and where you are and what you're pushing for. It's just, it makes so much sense. It's unique too, just to be pushing uphill. It's unique to do it, but as you've proved out, that's your only card. When I say only, it's a slight exaggeration, but you're comfortable pushing uphill.
Yeah. And I guess I'll just keep pushing until I can't, and keep balancing it with, maybe less stressful things. But I also, you get charged out of having good in-depth conversations, and so do I. And so I think when survivors come to me and tell me their story, I am so inspired, because there's always an aspect of them that is seeking to do something to change. They have such wisdom. Like when I now write policy, because now I'm engaged with FIFA, and I review policy that their lawyers are coming out with, and I'm like, this is junk. Are you kidding me? Garbage. And so, like, let's put this in front of a panel of survivors. And so that's one of the things I'm involved in, called Your Side. And it's a group of survivors who review all this policy to support people coming forward. And the lens that other survivors put on policy is so important. And I did policy development with UNESCO. They're working on some global standards for safety in sport. And the room of international survivors of abuse in sport, and the lens they bring, and like lenses that I don't have, like what is it like to be targeted with racism? Well, I have no business speaking on that. It's never happened to me. And when I listen to them speak, I'm like, oh shit, like we have a whole lot of work to do in Canada then, if you're saying that stuff, because I can put it together and I understand better. But without that lens, and without elevating the survivor perspective and the wisdom that they bring, we're not going to get out of this hole of governance that doesn't work. And Canada is way behind in sport governance.
It's all fascinating. And it's like daunting too, right? Because I grew up in sport, and my experience was it was good, generally good. But when you actually sit back and think about it, it's not all roses. I was beside a lot of some fucked up things that happened, but and I think for a lot of people that went through sport and saw the fucked up things, that's damaging too. Yeah, for sure.
And I said in another podcast, I said, parents who think that their kids are okay because they just witnessed abuse and weren't necessarily targeted themselves, their kids are fine. No, they're not. And we're at risk of those kids either becoming perpetrators of harm, bullies, etc., or, having survivor guilt and living their life to please because they don't want to be the target. So I don't know, and I'm super glad that sport was healthy for you as much as it was.
For me, it was like community, right?
Yeah.
Like around Ryan's world, right? And how I can pull, whether it's my business or this podcast, it's very sport centric.
Yes.
Because the community I built, all those people I've been around that I played with, now they're all in interesting positions, CEOs, CFOs, big leaders. So it's the community driver for me, especially in the city. The sport community's tight, so that's the biggest win for me. Which not everyone gets to feel that. Yeah, and that's the beauty of sport. That is why sport is so important, and I will support sport forever. But I also want to demand better of it, because what we don't hear from as much, or haven't over the years, is the hockey player that can't leave his parents' basement. For sure. Because of the terrible experiences that he had, or the national team soccer players who had to endure the coaching of a guy who's currently now in jail serving a sentence because he was a sexual abuser and a predator, but they don't even talk about it.
And a lot of people will sidestep the bad things that happen in sport because it hasn't been appreciated or accepted to be talking about that stuff. You're just considered ungrateful or sour grapes, or you're just saying that because you never made the Olympics or you didn't. No. Like, there's now luckily plenty of Olympians who are saying, I endured harm, I endured abuse, or I saw it happen and I feel bad I didn't speak up.
Yeah.
And we just don't need that. I mean, this is Canada. We have the intellect and the resources and the community care to do better than we're doing. Yeah. So why are we letting sport go in such a harmful direction?
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm lucky. It's a privilege for me to sit across from people and just like hear their stories from all different walks of life. And yeah, it's like I'm getting my MBA, PhD, all the things, just like consuming and like learning. So thank you. I end the show with one question. When I say Calgary, where's your head go?
Blue skies. Yeah, blue skies. I think there's healing and power and joy in the fresh air we breathe and the fact we can go 20 minutes out of town and be surrounded by nature. And I guess blue skies also signifies for me hope and optimism. And, I think overall we're pretty safe in Calgary. We've been safe. It's there's a lot of positivity here. I hope we can continue along those lines. I hope we can stay unified and united. There's a lot of divisive energy in and around. I hope Calgary can pull together as a city, and those blue skies kind of signify that to me.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I know it's like an ask to like, hey, you want to come hang out for some total stranger for a couple of hours? Anyways, thanks again.
You're welcome.